Hi, Phil Schoenberg, Fastpitch Power. Sometimes I just have to laugh. We work with a lot of pitchers from every part of the country. And I'd be willing to say with pretty much certainty that 90% of those pitchers would be all section, all county, all state pitchers if I never had to put a ball in their hand. Well, what do I mean by that? We're working with a 16U pitcher, very accomplished, plays for a very high-level tournament team, and she has come to us trying to get out of the open door, closed door delivery system and into what we like to call stride and drive, linear drive through, track, power K, all of the things that we've talked about. Now this particular athlete is having a problem with hip rotation in finishing the delivery of her pitch. And she's doing it over and over and over again. This is a very smart girl and a very good pitcher and a high-level athlete, and she just can't seem to get how the optimal delivery and drive-through will maximize speed and command in the strike zone. We did a post not too long ago called "The Ground Tells Many Tales." So I'm not going to go over that again. If you want to go onto the site and look for that, it will show you how important it is to look down to the ground to see what the shape and position of your drive-through is, drive foot toe to stride foot heel, in finishing your pitch. And it is the drive-through that finishes your pitch. Ideally, I want to come exploding off the pitching rubber. I want to land in power K position with my stride foot slightly to the left of the power line. Drive foot, toe, and knee forward. Here's my power K position. And I want to fire, and I want to drive straight through. Now, you can't see what's on the ground, but here's my drive foot, here's my stride foot. I just came off the pitching rubber and I landed. 45-degree angle of my stride foot. Okay? My drive foot is going to go from the pitching rubber aggressively, as fast as my hand goes, to my stride foot heel. Drive foot toe to stride foot heel. It's going to make a nice soft banana hook, arc, whatever you want to call it. Now when you go wrong doing this, you can look down on the ground and see exactly some of the problems that are created. When my stride foot lands and I start to drive through and I get 3/4 of the way through, and instead of finishing my drive in a linear aggressive fashion, similar to how my hand is going, the last quarter I am aggressively closing my hips, and what you're going to see then in your drive-through is here and then a sharp line. So instead of a nice soft banana hook, you're going to get what looks like a backward 7 with a point at the point at which you rotated your hips. Okay? Now what does that do, rotating my hips? It moves my hand out of the throw zone and forces me to slow down in order to command that square, 17-inch square, 43, 40, 35, depending upon what level pitcher you are, away from where you're delivering the ball. Another thing that you will see is a drive-through that looks like this, goes way out toward, I'm a right-hand pitcher now, so I'm just talking about right-handed. My drive foot goes way out to the left before it comes around. What creates that? Hip deflection. Okay? Now I look like a bowler instead of a windmill pitcher. Here's balanced power K. Here's hip deflection. Brings my drive foot way out there before I stand up and it comes around. Again, that's moving my throw zone down and up, which is forcing me to slow down in order to command the strike zone. So I often tell the pitchers that we're working with, look around. Do you see an umpire? They say no. Do you see a scoreboard? They say no. Well, when you're here, you're working on your mechanics, solidifying and understanding the optimal biomechanics of this athletic movement. I want my pitchers, when they are working with me, to detach themselves from any result. So this particular individual understood exactly what I was saying and was getting really frustrated. He said, I just can't do it. Just rotating her hips really quickly, because that's what she originally had been trained to do. Said, I just can't get my body to do it. So I said, give me the ball. She threw the ball to me. I said, go stand on the pitching rubber, pretend you have that ball in your hand. I don't want you to think about anything now but getting your dry foot toe to your stride foot heel, come off the pitching rubber aggressively, explosively, land in balanced, vertically stacked position, eyebrows, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, parallel to the ground and right on top of each other. She stood back on the pitching rubber when she went through exactly the perfect motion for delivering a windmill pitch with optimal speed and command. Looked down at the ground and saw an absolutely flawless drive-through with a perfect soft arc, dry foot toe to stride foot heel, and she and her father, who was here with her, they just had a laugh. How did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. She didn't have the ball. You put a ball in your hand and automatically, and this is normal, you start to think, I have to do something with that ball. There needs to be a result, and I need to be thinking about that result. Well, you don't. We've talked about this many times, and especially when you're working out, and especially when you're taking a lesson. The difference between destination and location. Destination, really quickly, is where my hand ends up at the end of my throw zone. For a fastball, my throw zone ends at the tip of my outstretched glove straight down, and I want to get my hand to that destination as quickly as I can without my throw zone ever moving. The location is where the ball ends up at the catcher, at the end of the pitching lane. Pitching lane, throw zone. The throw zone is a smaller version of the pitching lane, but that's all you're focused on. How do I get my hand down that throw zone, and how do I get my drive through to finish on the same path that my hand just went? So for the best results when you're working out or you're taking a lesson, and I know that this is difficult, because you put a ball in your hand and you're used to, from the time you're 7 years old and you started pitching, you know, you got a crowd there, you got coaches, you got umpires, you got scoreboard, you got to throw the ball into the strike zone. There's a lot of guiding going on, and there is a lack of trust and faith in the mechanics. And the best way to get that trust and faith in the mechanics of the pitch is to detach yourself from any result. If your mechanics are pure, the result will be there. So just as this young pitcher found out, when I take the ball out of my hand and I'm not thinking about where that ball has to end up, everything that I did was perfectly executed. Put the ball back in her hand after I had her do 10 without the ball, and the next 3 or 4 pitches that she threw had outstanding drive-through paths with practically no premature hip rotation, increased her speed and command in the strike zone, and I said, thank you very much. I'll see you next time. So, pay attention to what you're doing when you're working out, and making sure that you are aware of your body and what it's doing and how it feels doing it, whether it's right or wrong. Detach yourself from the result, and your workouts will be much more effective. I hope that this has been useful. Talk to you next time.